Hey everyone, how are you all doing? My name is Deza and I hope you guys have had a good winter break spending time with your family and friends. I do apologise for not uploading in a while as I have been very busy with university since I started in September, but as we enter 2023, I will be committed to uploading more videos more often. But before we think about what great games the new year has to offer, let's take a look back at the bad ones we may be glad to be leaving behind. And in this video, I'm going to reveal, in my opinion, the 5 worst games that released in 2022. If you are excited about new games releasing in 2023 and are looking for a YouTube channel that will make videos covering these games, then you have come to the right place. So be sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video if you do enjoy. Starting off, we have Pokemon Scarlet and Violet at number 5. The new Pokemon game failed to please many fans due to the number of bugs and glitches, for unchallenging Pokemon battles, and especially its poor graphics. The game's graphical problems were blamed on the Nintendo Switch system itself, with many claiming it's not powerful enough. But looking at The Witcher 3 and Xenoblade's performance on the Nintendo Switch, it's clear that the poor graphics fall down to the development team. Despite the great storyline, cool Gen 9 Pokemon models, and a fun experience, the game failed to meet the standards. At number 4, we have Rainbow Six Extraction. Previously known as Outbreak, which was a limited time PvE mode for Rainbow Six Siege, has now been brought back and turned into a new IP. Rainbow Six Extraction, however, feels quite plain. It was fun if you had a couple of friends to play with, but the missions were quite repetitive and things got boring after a couple of hours. And if you unfortunately had no one to play with, the solo experience left you with teammates only looking after themselves or quitting early, which resulted in a much more difficult time. Rainbow Six Extraction still gets frequent updates and events, even continuing through the new year. But for targeted audience, Rainbow Six Siege players would much rather stick to what they already enjoy. In the number 3 slot, we have another Ubisoft title, this time it's Roller Champions. Roller Champions is a 3v3 roller derby sports game where you continuously skate around a track, tackle players, and throw a ball through a ring to score points. The concept is creative and unique, but as you can imagine, this game is very repetitive. There were not really any game modes that brought any innovation to the game, and the gameplay itself was incredibly infuriating as you could just spam tackle players. Furthermore, each track you played in was the same. No obstacles or anything, just a circular track. Nothing has really been added to the game currently other than a cosmetic battle pass and the odd bug fixes and balancing updates, and that's it. I do hope, however, that Ubisoft can develop a new competitive IP in the future that will last. And with X-Defiant on the horizon, I do have hopes that it will become a hit. Second on this list is Gotham Knights. If you haven't heard of this game, it is somewhat a sequel to the Batman Arkham's game series, but the gameplay and themes for Gotham Knights were more like a worse version of Marvel's Avengers. Compared to Marvel's Avengers, the combat felt very assisted, as if your punches and kicks had Call of Duty aim assist. The open world traversal was slow, like driving in a school zone slow, and lastly, it had loot you had to collect to become stronger. For a game that is supposed to be a successor to the famous Batman Arkham games, did Gotham Knights really need a loot system? Absolutely not. Overall, it was a very generic game that expressed little imagination and unique qualities compared to other similar games. Once again, DC are proving that Marvel do it better. A few dishonorable mentions to bring up before we get to the number 1 spot, and these games are pretty bad in my opinion, but definitely not bad enough to be a top 5. Overwatch 2 gets a dishonorable mention for a couple of reasons. The main reason being they pretty much re-released the first Overwatch game but put a number 2 on the end. The game was supposed to release alongside a PvE story mode which has since been delayed for a long time. The only things different about Overwatch 2 are that the map's daytime cycle has changed, they added new heroes, new maps and a new game mode, and they removed loot boxes but replaced them with an average battle pass and overpriced skin bundles. Some things that haven't changed is the unbalanced heroes, the bad matchmaking, toxic players, and filthy DPS Moira remains. And I have to say, even though Overwatch 2 is very fun to play with friends, there's a lack of accomplishment and progression. For example, there's no player levels anymore. So other than completing a battle pass or jumping into an unbalanced ranked playlist, there's not really anything to prove your skills as a player. Another dishonorable mention is Saints Row. The Saints Row series has always been known as a more chaotic GTA, with its first 2 games being the most notorious, but the reboot really missed this mark. The story, dialogue and characters are dull and forgettable. There are many bugs and glitches that cause the game to crash quite frequently, and on top of all of this, it was a streamer's nightmare as the license-free music option in the settings provided, you guessed it, no license-free music. Some positives, however, is the endless customization options. The sandbox environment in itself is fun to explore, and for completionists, there's plenty of collectibles, missions, and activities to complete. But all in all, the reboot is pretty bad, and it should have stuck with the original characters and narrative. And at number 1, we have Babylon's Fall. Developed by Platinum Games, the developers of the Bayonetta series, this was their first ever multiplayer game, and it was extremely flawed in almost every way possible. The graphics are incredibly blurry and it only ran at 30 FPS. The developers also seemed to put money over content as the game was riddled with cosmetics and microtransactions, which isn't a good sign when the game was $60. And even on launch day, it only had a couple of hundred players. Wanna know why? Because it launched on the same day as Elden Ring. A game that sold 13 million copies in the first month, was developed by Platinum Games' fiercest competitors, From Software, who teamed up with the writer of Game of Thrones and the creator of the Dark Souls series. Yeah, they shot themselves in the foot. And the developers even announced that the game will unfortunately be shut down in February 2023. It won't even last 1 year after the game's launch. This was a massive blow to Platinum Games, but luckily the release of Bayonetta 3 was a success and the developers are already teasing Bayonetta 4. Well, there you have it, that is my list of the 5 worst games of 2022. I'm going to be doing another video like this, but for the best games of 2022, and you can expect that video in a couple of days. I do want to express, however, that all the games that I deemed as bad in this video is all just personal opinion. Even though these games didn't please the fans and we can hate on these games as much as we like, we do have to show respect to the developers who put a lot of time, money and effort into creating these titles. And despite the feedback and criticism, I wish them all good luck in 2023 and the future. If you agreed with some of the things on my list, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you are excited for a new year of games. Much love and I'll see you guys very soon. Goodbye.